It's all about humanity. About humanity.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the vlog. So as you can tell, we're back with more ZR2 content. If you haven't checked out the latest upload, be sure and go back and watch that video. It tells all about the new truck, and if you missed it, like I said, go back and check that out. It was so awesome. Such a great buying experience. So if this is your first time ever viewing the Colorado, be sure and go back and check the backstory. So today, I'm actually getting ready to put the tent back on the truck. So as you guys know, previous video, if you didn't check that one out, went ahead and done the 33s, and we got our ready lift on there. It's leveled. Everything worked out pretty good. I wanted to update you guys on the rubbing, which there's not really any rubbing as far as street driving, like I said in the last video. But as you can see, I made a couple extra provisions here and basically just followed this line out and used some sheet metal cutters and just snipped it right off. So it's just going to help in case I start articulating or wheeling, doing all that good stuff, just to keep things safe where it won't rub at all. I just went ahead and done that. You guys can see there, just to kind of give us a little bit more breathing room. So before I get too carried away with that, here's what we're doing today. You guys are all too familiar with this rack. If you've watched all the videos on the old S10 that I actually just sold last week, new owner picked it up Thursday, so it is now in good hands of the new owner. So back to the Colorado, and now it's time to build this thing. So that's what we're doing today. We got the tent and getting ready to put it on. Looks like it's gonna fit pretty good. In case you guys are looking to do one of these awesome racks, hot metal fabrication out of California. You can find them on eBay too, and I think he has a website also dedicated to it. But these low profile racks are the way to go, guys, because your tent stays below the top of the truck. So that's going to help you out on drivability, fuel mileage, bugs, all that good stuff. All right, guys, so I just finished putting the rest of this on, did my measurements, and I've got the thing pretty well about where I want it. It looks like the tent's about 58 inches, so I'm going to have about 3 or 4 inches from the back glass and roughly 3 or 4 inches from the tailgate. So I'm kind of close to where I want to be. I did want to go over how this thing attaches real quick. Just in case you guys are wondering, if you don't have the nice little sliders like the Tacomas have, shout out Toyota. Actually, this is the one time I'm going to give you guys a shout out, but you have to use these. So basically, these guys go in the place of where a slider would go. You can see there, it's going to go through the front, and then the nuts are basically welded to a piece of steel. It goes through the back side. It's a little bit rusty because they've been in storage, and the truck drove quite a lot, so it did get a little bit of rust built up on it. Just surface rust, not really a big deal. Of course, also, you don't even have to have this. You could just put a nut on the back side of that bolt and bore a hole here. Not really a big deal, but this is what comes with the kit from Hot Metal Fab. And no, it does not come in this generic bag. It actually comes all together in a nice little kit. This is just how I stored it. All right, guys, I had to head back over to the shop real quick and grab some tools. So doing some drilling now. Just want to show you guys what we got going on real quick. Got a couple holes bored here. Starting on the other side, of course, we're just basically taking a 3/8 drill and working our way around. So when I get these holes bored, we'll grab the tent and toss it on. All right, guys, got all the holes bored. Everything is in. Lined them up pretty good. Not bad for eyeballing it. And she's down. So it's time to grab the tent and see how it works out. From the outside, you guys can see that anti-fatigue mat does a great job of protecting your bed without giving it some really weird look. I mean, you can barely see it in there, but the idea is to save these bed caps so they still look brand new the day you take the tent off for whatever reason. It paid off on the S10 because the guy that has it now doesn't even have a bed cover on it, and I was able to just kind of buff the top of the bed from where that thing had just kind of lightly touched it, and couldn't really tell anything was even on it. So just a heads up, the stuff I'm using is anti-fatigue mat. You can see it's already this has been on my S10 for 2 years, and it's still holding up good. It hadn't ate through. These were just the holes. where the bolts went through, which I didn't use on this truck because it's got this plastic guard on the inside of the bed. So what I'll do is when I take the tent or the rack off in the winter time, which is still winter, but you know, when we go back into winter, I'll have a plastic little retainer I'll put in there just to kind of plug those holes, and I may throw the bed cover back on the truck whenever it's outside of camping season. But there you go, guys. Let's go grab the tent and get this thing sized up. We'll see how it does. All right, boys, there it is. The tent is on. Finished tightening everything up. Just give you a quick recap of what we had to do. So went ahead and tightened up and drilled the holes, tightened up the bolts, got all that set. Your tent, of course, comes with all your attaching hardware, which essentially just slides into this tubing. And then you've got 2 lock nuts that you tighten down, kind of torque them as even as you can get them. And that's actually what holds it to the base. And of course your bolts also go through the floor of your tent. So they're going to come through the tent, through the tubing down to here, and then it's just a nice little piece of aluminum to hold it on. There we go. Tent is on. Alright guys, this is part 2 of this little video, and I've been waiting on this to show up in the mail, so I figured I'd just throw it in on this video as well. So this is the air intake system from S&B. We'll see how it does. I think it's going to go pretty smooth, so let's get a shot at what it looks like now. Bone stock. You know, they did a pretty good job at the dealership cleaning this thing up, but you know, I definitely have noticed some odd things going on, so I think maybe they've had a recall at some point. They've got some markings on here. There's some funniness going on here. And then this kind of concerns me that this is kind of just chilling there. So obviously they've had some recall at some point on this thing. Other than that, that's the only kind of fishy thing I found on the truck so far. Everything else seems pretty good. So let's get into it. First thing we're going to do is take this air box out and remove all of our plastics and start breaking this thing down. I'm going to go ahead also and unbox this, make sure I have everything before I tear into it. Alright, just doing a little unboxing. Of course, you gotta throw the S&B on there. That's like 10 horsepower. So we got one of those. Here's looks like a gasket, the main body of the air box. Let's get this thing out. I want to show this to you guys. This is most of the reason why I bought it. I'm gonna have to set the camera down to unbox this thing. There's our filter. And this is the, woo, there's a lot of stuff in here. Alright, let's check this out. So, this is the main box. I need to get it out of the bag and show you guys, but this thing is huge, and it looks like, you know, the filter obviously is blocked off really nice. We've got a couple couplings, other bits in here, nice little, looks like a cap, some gaskets for everything to go together. And yeah, looks pretty simple. I'll probably read the directions just so I don't waste any time, but let's get to it. Alright, here's a quick breakdown of what comes in the kit. So you got the box and the lid. I went ahead and kind of took everything out of the packaging there. You've got your intake tube that comes from the throttle body. Then you've got your tube that goes actually to the airbox itself. You've got a coupler for everything included. And then you've got this huge, ginormous, massive filter. I mean, this thing is just insane. Woo! I mean, perspective here. That is huge. Huge. Alright guys, so this thing is actually pretty easy to get apart. Of course, I haven't took the air box out yet. I've still got a few bolts holding it in. But look at how wild the little 3.6 looks outside of its little, you know, its little habitat here with the cover off. You can tell it looks like 2 Ecotech slammed together, kind of. Just, it's funny looking. You know, it's hard to believe this little guy makes 308 horsepower, but it's a pretty strong little engine. Dang, boys, look at all that restriction down in there. That is crazy. So much restriction. So I think we're definitely going to be reusing the mass airflow, so I'm going to hang on to that. But man, this thing is gutted like a fish now. This is crazy looking. I think I dropped something down in there. I'm sure I'll find it later. I think it was just one of these little bolts that goes on the stud down here. So now I think we're ready to finally start doing some stuff with the S&B supplied components. Of course, I got everything off, so yeah, not too bad. Let's go ahead and finish this up, start putting on S&B stuff. Alright y'all, before I get too far along, I just wanted to show you how the box mounts. You can see there I'm reusing the bushings from the factory unit. Kind of hard to see them, but they're down in there. And essentially this thing just kind of pops on. I've got this into position, ready to put my filter on. I've reconnected the mass airflow. I've put this back on. I've put this back on. Just kind of, you know, working my way around. I've also put the coupler on over here. So now I just need that intermediate pop, which is sitting somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. We're getting ready to put this thing on. So once I get all this in and tightened down, it's pretty much done. Kind of interesting so far. I've noticed that I don't think I'm going to be reusing anything from the factory lid unless I was to try and take it apart somehow. But you can see it's kind of built in. And look at all these baffles in here to quieten it down. That's insane. So I'm really going to be interested to see how this sounds when we give it a crank here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting the couplers together here, finishing this install up, put the filter in, and of course the glass cover, and we'll give it a crank and see how she sounds. Alright guys, everything is tightened down. It is all back together. So just a quick recap. Basically, once you get everything tightened up here, you want to kind of leave everything loose as you're putting it together so you can kind of critique how this throttle body goes in. If you start to tighten things up before the throttle body, you'll run into this issue where this thing won't position just quite right. So I try to get this positioned and torque down and then start kind of working your way towards the filter. I found that to be about the easiest way. So everything went pretty smooth. Not really that bad, probably about an hour-ish install time. And that's just me taking my time, kind of going over everything. So not too bad. I'm going to give it a quick start up here in just a second. I'm going to clean up the garage a little bit and we'll see how it sounds. It should make a little bit of a difference. Should make some more power and hopefully get a little better fuel economy out of this thing. Alright guys, so you've seen the air intake, you've seen the exhaust and all that good stuff, so it is finally time to open up the tent and see what this thing does. Like I said, I haven't actually opened the tent up before, so we're going to pop this thing and make sure that the ladder and everything's going to work out because this truck is a lot higher than the S10 that it was on, so that may or may not cause some problems. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open and see what she looks like. Man, that is one awesome tent. It looks so good set up on the truck. I don't have the front open yet because I'm going to let things kind of air out for a minute. The tent actually hasn't been open in, oh man, I'd say it's been at least 3 or 4 months since it's been open. But wow, that looks so cool on the Colorado. It looked good on the S10, but it definitely looks better on the Colorado, that's for sure. So yeah, as far as using this one, probably not going to open this window. I may just crack it and use one tent pole here. But I've got some ideas for the awning, and that's actually what I'm getting ready to work on now for you guys, is see if we can get the Redneck Awning that I made somehow fixtured up onto the back of this to create kind of a bat wing sort of effect off the back of the truck. And it may give us some usable shelter. And it looks like, you know, I'm 6 foot tall. I'm barely ducking to get under here just a little bit. So this is probably about, I don't know, 5'5" off the ground. I could measure it and see, but you know, this could be used as like a place to sit and eat if it's raining or something. So you know, it's not as high up. If I'd have had a larger rack from Hot Metal Fab, you know, they make a rack that obviously sets much higher up. But this does the job, definitely, and it's still going to provide, you know, a little bit of shelter for the, you know, items in the bed. They're not going to get rained on as bad, so that's pretty cool. All right, guys, I have not showed you my Redneck Awning that I made a while back, but this thing, so basically this is like a, you know, 8-foot tarp. I think it's 8 by like 12, something like that. And basically I've got some canopy ties here, and I've got some tent pegs, and this thing rolls up really nice and neat. You can actually hook these rubber straps into here and into the middle, so this thing comes as one neat little package. And I think I created this thing for under $15. I think I might have maybe 20 bucks in it, but we're gonna try and see if we can fixture a way up to attach it to the back of the tent to come off of the back and kind of give some more shade or shelter. So if you're cooking or something like that, you know, and you're back here, it's not going to be an issue when the weather turns on me. All right, guys, it don't look like much, but this little thing right here that I built out of some scrap metal, some bungee cords, some tent stakes, some wing nuts, drilled a couple holes in them, and these poles can telescope, and they're about 6 foot tall, so I'm looking about eye level with them. Works out almost perfectly for a shelter off the back of the tent. Now, it is kind of rigged, and I don't really like blue, but if I was to get a hold of a tarp that was more of a tan color or an olive color and got some tents, actually like collapsible tent poles, and done the same thing, it would pretty much work. But this is just kind of like a prototype, redneck prototype awning kit that I've been thinking about doing, and it turned out pretty good. It actually covers a very wide area, and it works perfectly because you can tie it in with canopy ties, and you know, basically just create this really awesome shelter out of some cheap tarp that's like 10 bucks. And you know, I'm standing just now hitting my head right here, so back here, you know, I'm perfectly fine. I could cook right here. You know, the rain and the wind and stuff like that's kind of off of me, so if it was raining and I wanted to cook, I could actually cook right here if I needed to. I could set up chairs here. Yeah, just kind of cool, something different. And I could even use part of the top off of the tent if I wanted to kind of cover this area. You know, I may come up with something here for the future use of this thing to kind of bridge the gap right there. But this just kind of gives you a good look at the tent and the awning setup. And I wanted to also show you guys inside the tent real quick. I have added a couple things in the tent. Kind of hard to do and hold the camera, but we're gonna try it. I don't have this up because I'm keeping some warm air in there. So Smittybilt comes factory with a you know, normal 2-inch mattress, and I put this in here, some added mattress. This is the same as a double bed, so if you buy a double bed mattress pad, it literally works perfect in the Smittybilt Overlander tent. So just kind of wanted to show you guys that real quick. And man, what an awesome setup for low budget use. How awesome is that? You know, the tent is nothing spectacular. Smittybilt is more of an entry-level tent, but you know, you can spruce it up with some bedding in there. Takes care of the problem there. And then if you're feeling froggy, you can make yourself a your own redneck awning. And for about the cost of the shipping it would take to buy a real awning, you can build your own. There you go, guys. With that one, I'm going to end it off right there. I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and if you haven't done it already, be sure and subscribe and click the bell while you're at it. You're going to get all the notifications when we post, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of the rig and the new setup, and if you could change anything, drop it below. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take it easy.
All about humanity.